in the pots and the pans. God lives in the pots and the pans. God lives in the pots and the pans. God lives in the pots and the pans. I read in a book about 2 years ago called Wild Mercy. I was speaking about the characteristics of the sacred feminine and feminine spirituality. And something that really stuck out to me was this phrase that God lives in the pots and the pans. And essentially, the meaning of that message is that so much of spiritual practice is about transcending. It is about going beyond the mind, going beyond one's personality, going beyond one's body, going beyond the reality that one is surrounded by, going beyond the earth. And this is also supported, I think, by many of the Abrahamic religions, but specifically I'm thinking about Christianity because that's the one that I have most experience with. But I've heard very strong Christians say, we're just sojourners here. This is just temporary, and ultimately, what we're striving for is life in heaven. Now, of course, I am not invalidating the gravity of, the meaning behind that. But I do believe that this idea of transcendence is in some level a scapegoat for our consciousness. It's a back door that kind of inhibits us and gives us an excuse not to be able to recognize our oneness and recognize God in the eyes of strangers and in the eyes of our enemies, and how this relates to my own story and what I feel inspired to share about is that I'm no longer in my life, my spiritual practice is no longer about transcendence. It's no longer about going beyond myself, my mind, my ego personality, and my current life experience. Actually, my spirituality now is about integrity and full alignment and harmony in the moment and in the life situation I find myself in. And it's a little bit paradoxical because I actually need all of those spiritual tools to be able to help support me as I become fully human and fully animal. Because there's this phrase that's heard a lot in the spiritual world that, about the quote-unquote human drama. Now, I understand the essence of this phrase, which has also helped me have a lot of perspective in terms of there's a sense of humor that can be found around how wrapped up we get in our own drama and within our own personalities. And when we become so identified with the stories and the narratives that are just a figment of the human mind, when we can take a step back from that and recognize the human drama and recognize that, there is a way that we're dancing, and it's just a rise and a fall. And I understand that, but I recognized yesterday that it's like, yes, we do have the human drama. However, and yes, we need to have perspective on the human drama and how to not take it so seriously and how not to identify with it fully. And we have to work through the human drama, especially if you're a quote-unquote layperson, just a person in the world, and a person who hasn't taken the vows and isn't a monk or isn't a nun or isn't someone who they're just full goal in life is connecting to God in the ways that they feels most resonant to them. When you're not that, you do have a human drama, and the human drama is necessary to be able to move forward. And so I no longer see transcendence as the most strategic path for me to experience God. And I used to practice transcendence a lot. And again, the paradox is that I've needed to. And I think it's interesting because it's like before your, call it journey of consciousness, or before you become aware, your entire perspective is like just colored by your conditioning and colored by your upbringing and what your ancestors have given to you and around your culture. And so we are completely identified with these ideas of like what is real and who we are and who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do with our lives. And it's all really concrete, 3D. And because the identification is so strong, there is a need for experiences where we can transcend those things and where we can go beyond and to create space so that our awareness will be able to recognize that the thought I have is not actually me, or the sensation that I have is not actually me, and between stimulus and response there's a space, and within that space is my ability to choose how I respond. Okay, and so in my journey it was yoga. Yoga really like helped me go beyond and just like create such a profound awareness. Yoga and meditation. And in many senses, yoga became my high, and I learned how to become high through my energetic system, and I never wanted to come down. And so I would just be experiencing my quote-unquote higher self or whatever that is, and just like, very in my focus and in my achievement and in my discipline and in my practice, and feeling just like neutral and like calm and also happy. But if I would experience anything that would trigger my humanity, I would view that as lower than me and see that and then blame that and not recognize that that was an opportunity for me to look inside. And I also learned a lot. I learned spiritual bypassing and bypassing my emotions and essentially bypassing my human tendencies to just be holy and perfect, and therefore very judgmental. I mean, I still had a lot of judgment towards myself, but very judgmental to other people who I couldn't have compassion for because I couldn't have compassion for myself, and judge them of like, like you can get yourself, like, why do you live like this? You can get yourself out of that hole. This is too much, Also had like no boundaries and like still had like so much fear and people pleasing and perfectionism, like was listening to my body in my yoga practice, but had a still very controlling and dominating relationship with my body, and was trying to force my body to have energy, and didn't really understand, like, I just felt that I was supposed to be producing all the time and have high energy all the time and just be happy all of the time. And yeah, just like exerted a lot of force and control on my body. So just transcending. And like the transcendence has been really helpful. Has been really helpful. Has helped me get through a lot of like hard moments when I didn't know any other way than just to like escape reality, because I felt like I didn't have the tools to be able to lean in to reality and to face, you know, the things that were causing me so much suffering, and and still learning about self-responsibility, still learning how to own the parts of myself that are perpetuating different scenarios and situations. And, you know, kind of in the more spiritual sense, Ram Dass says is like it's old karma running off too. I don't know if that fully lands, but when I didn't know how to cope in my reality, in what my lived experience was, I meditated. And I came to my yoga practice. And this was really valuable for me, because being able to meditate and come to my cushion when my external environment is so chronically uncomfortable, and where I know I'm following the path that feels like in my integrity, but it's so difficult and it's so challenging, and there's so much that's unknown, and I really don't know how to move forward, but I know that I must. So transcendence became like a really powerful practice for me. And I think transcendence was the tool, a practice, a tool, as I'm gaining, as I said, the awareness of how to lean in to all of my emotions and all of my humanity, so that I may be able to own everything and to be honest about everything, and to focus on why I am attracting situations that, or why my life situation is really hard and challenging and I'm suffering a lot. Because God lives in the pots and the pans. And this is a really important distinction, because the book Wild Mercy was about feminine spirituality. And there's a really important point here, in that much of the religious ideology as well as the spiritual practice was created for men by men, and they're tools for spirituality and to essentially access higher levels of consciousness, really in a man's body. And we really celebrate control and domination, and we really celebrate one's ability to, sit and meditate and transcend and experience God. But the idea of God lives in the pots and the pans is that, well, who was the one feeding and supporting all of these men in their spiritual practices? Their wives and their mothers and their grandmothers. And what, not saying that women haven't, also been great, devotees to these practices. However, it's one thing to sit and to go beyond and to see God. And it is one thing to wake up in the middle of the night, to rock your baby to sleep as it pukes all over you, and dedicate your life to cleaning the clothes and for being in the kitchen for like a really long time every day of your life, and to speak to the other women while you're weaving baskets and being fully immersed essentially in the piss and the shit, and to still experience God. And not to still experience, but to see the purity of those actions. And I think, too, especially now in the modern Western world and what I've experienced in my own yoga practice, and not only yoga, but Vipassana meditation. Vipassana meditation retreats have been some of the most profound experiences I've ever had. And they don't teach me anything about going into my emotions and feeling them fully and diving deep into the stories of my lineage and how that all relates to who I am supposed to be in the world. And this relates to ego development. Having a healthy ego is a really good thing. And I've really started to come into my healthy ego development as I have been connecting more to practices, specifically healing practices, that are connecting me more to the earth and that are helping me ground and connect to my lower body and are connecting me to the life that is all around me. Instead of feeling like this isolated entity where no one else exists and nothing else matters, and you just enter into the void and you go beyond all thoughts and all sensations, and then you just experience the pure oneness. But like, what's the point of that when you're coming off the meditation cushion and you still are blaming other people for the choices that you're making? Or, for example, like yesterday, I met this individual who's spent a lot of time at Kripalu Yoga Center, and his guru, I think his name is Guru Dev, it's like their guru, and he's reporting like him molesting and trigger word, but raping, a woman, or I think multiple women, I don't know. But I just heard that, and I'm like, that's literally such fucking bullshit. And I'm also not surprised because, of course, this is like a whole other separate conversation, but in terms of how it relates to my point, how are you going to be doing all of this fucking channeling and all of this spiritual work and all your yoga and your pranayama and all of these things, and then you're getting off your meditation cushion and literally abusing another human being? You're using your power to manipulate someone who is less aware and less conscious as you. Like, I don't know, that just doesn't fucking make sense in my brain. And even me, like, getting out here and cursing and feeling like righteous anger, that's because I know I am not just bypassing my frustration and my anger and calling it bad or impure or not spiritual. Actually, like, feeling all of my pain and my suffering and my anger and my humanity is giving me so much discernment and is also giving me so much power and boundaries, and is helping me actually feel the sovereignty in my daily life that I'm looking for when I'm just like on my meditation cushion. You know, that level of freedom and connection, but it's like I don't have to escape my reality. I don't have to escape my body. I don't have to escape my mind. And now I'm really leaning in to my human expression and seeing that escaping is not actually bringing me to where I want to go. My spiritual practices and my devotion to them has really helped me access the phenomenology of God. It has helped me access what God feels like in my body, but it's nothing if I'm not integrating that into action to live my spirituality, to be in full integrity in my word, thought, and action, and to translate the whole point of these experiences, which is just to be able to experience unity and connection, and bringing that into the world, bringing that into how my ego is moving and developing in the world. And so knowledge is not enough, really. From what I see, knowledge is not enough. You can study all of the books, and I see this, studying all of the books, feeling like you have all of the wisdom, but none of it is embodied. None of it is embodied. And another important point that I would like to add, I am a woman. And within my biology is a natural tendency towards birth and towards death and creation. And every single month, I'm shedding. Absolutely. It's a lifestyle for me now. Every single month, I'm not just bleeding, but I'm witnessing my spiral and my cycle. And every single month, I grow in power and wisdom. I put my blood into the earth and I set my intentions. And I'm very aware of the quality of my thoughts, the quality of my actions, what is driving me, and how to consciously move forward. And this is not a biological process in men, and so I can see that men need these intense experiences to be able to simultaneously experience ego annihilation so that they'll be able to have more wisdom of knowing how to move forward as they integrate those experiences into their ego structure. So that's an interesting point too. But now I know that and experience God as living in my nervous system and caring for my body and listening to it and not trying to control or dominating it, but actually being in devotion to it and being in devotion to being the part of the solution that is helping foster more thriving life on earth feels way more spiritual to me than just going to some far off land somewhere and completely disconnecting and escaping, which I have done. And I do not judge, because that is an integral part of my experience too. So none of it is either wrong or right. This is just my experience and how I see. And I do feel I have a great amount of wisdom because I've been earnestly inquiring within myself. Yeah, and I'm just curious what life could be like if we could all see how sacred everything is. That this life, this human life on this earth planet that is literally what keeps us alive and fed, that this all isn't just some paper illusion that's flat, that has no life, that's something to be controlled and dominated for our own human depravities, or I would say our human desires that are not in balance with feminine wisdom. That what's most important is just purifying ourselves and repressing all of our human, animal tendencies and phenomenology and experiences, and that's going to keep us good. That's what's going to keep us holy. I don't believe that. I don't experience that to be true. I actually experience full immersion, full sensuousness, full sexuality, full wildness, full primality. Being fully immersed in the earth as the most pure, sacred experience that actually is helping me keep one eye on God and one eye on the world in every moment, and allowing that to be my guiding life philosophy. That God is not just living in a building one day a week, or a holy place is somewhere that you have to go. We are the holy place. The altar lives within us. We are the temple. And the gravity of that is profound. If we really felt and embodied that, everything would change. And that is what I am embodying. And that is what I practice. And that is how I see the world. And that is my integrity.
Shila bila maya yelo hey janu pakileo ha je waki hello tankashila